Well. Here we are once again in this video that everybody has requested. Yeah, surprise, surprise. What are we going to talk about? Yeah, once again, AI. A lot of people ask me, Juan, what do you think about AI in the English language industry? Or, yes, about the education and so on. Or, Juan, what do you think about using AI as a tutor to practice English? Well, so in this video, I'm going to make it once and for all, share with you what I think about practicing with one this tutor, because right now there are a lot of apps out there that allow you to practice in real time with an avatar that actually corrects you and gives you feedback and has a conversation with you, right? Now, if you've told me back when I first started teaching English that one day this would have been possible, I would have told you that you're crazy, my friend. You know, we're not gonna be speaking to robots, huh? And here we are, huh? Even me speaking to robots. As you can see in the screen, we're going to talk about this later. Now, I'm going to be honest, okay? First, I am not worried about my job because I think people understand that okay, that's why I am still on the business. And I think people understand that it's impossible to replace the human aspect in communication, being a linguist in this case. And when it comes to learning a language, and it's all about the interaction between people, you know. But on the other hand, I got a lot of IT uh, workers, and that are very enthusiastic, and it's great about the AI, and they think, okay, yes, I can learn English with AI. My friends, you can practice your English with a tutor, and it's great, and I strongly encourage it. I use it as a tool, right? And there's a lot of good, not like pros and cons. And well, the chatbots, ChatGPT, they could be helpful for learning and practicing English on your own, and definitely with those apps that offer this robot or avatar for you to practice with. So, so while I am concerned a little bit about where the world is going with I also want to acknowledge and say that there's also a lot of good stuff happening there. And we as learners, we have to be mindful of this and make smart decisions, understanding the impact each decision we make has on our own progress, our own confidence, and definitely on our own fluency. And I'm going to emphasize this a lot. As you can see on the screen, I was making like a deep search for my 8040 American Top 40 podcast, and I had this funny conversation with this chatbot. But okay, now let's go back to the question. Okay, what do I think about practicing with an AI tutor? Let's go start first with the pros or the advantages or disadvantages. Having a robot to practice with on your phone is cheaper, it's more accessible, and usually it's pretty accurate. And you can do it anytime. That is a lot because you work one on one with a teacher. You have to schedule, you have to find me, to find the timetable. You have to show up live, or turn on your camera, making sure that your hair, not me in this case, your hair looks okay, that you're well dressed, not me with this wacky racist t-shirt, huh? And and even you can do that on your bed. Talk to a robot teacher. I mean, and I'm not saying this in a derogatory way. Don't get me wrong, eh? And it's not a derogatory way, by any means, huh? Well, maybe a little bit, okay? But so, I mean, it's really accessible. It's easy. It's cheap. Why should you just do that only? So it's definitely valuable to use a tutor with AI because you can actually do a lot of speaking opportunities to get feedback from the machine. However, and this is the part where I discuss the cons, not the pros, there are consequences to do that. It's really important that you just don't do that, okay? And here's why. Well, first, the human connection and human interaction has a lot more in it than just proper grammar, vocabulary, pronunciation, and all that stuff that we talk over and over again. When we speak to other people, there's another element that comes into play, which is our mindset, how we feel, how we show up, the thoughts we have about what the other person is thinking about us, about what you're going to say after them, about understanding them, about what happens if we don't understand them. In any case, that aspect adds a whole lot into my any interaction. Maybe tension, anxiety, which is part of our daily lives, fear or excitement. My students know what I'm talking about. Focus also, right? All of that doesn't happen when you speak to an AI tutor. You know, this aspect needs to be practiced as well, because in real life, when you speak to people, you apply for a job. All of the things that I mentioned, they also happen too. They you show up in an interview and you're gonna see your body language and so on, right? I got tons of videos about this. I'm not going to repeat myself, okay? Or am I? Nah, nah. Okay. Am talking about anxiety, and all of that. You need to practice that, right? And you need to know how to manage these feelings while you're speaking, because when you speak to an AI tutor, you're probably going to improve your accuracy. You're going to make less mistakes in terms of vocabulary. You're going to use better words, which is great. But fluency is not just about that. Mm. Fluency is the back and forth that we always do in our lessons. Yeah. It's being able to listen, to understand others when there are distractions. When people speak with different accents, tones, are they neighbors? Are they sorry? Are they nervous or when you have to manage your own thoughts in real time, and you need to respond while all of that is happening in real time, which is not possible when you practice with an app. So while this is good, and it's great that you can add more speaking practice for better accuracy, and if you want to improve your fluency, you have to practice with real human beings, to real people. Now, I might even say that it's important to practice not just with real people who are teachers, not because I'm selling myself, I don't need to, but real people who are people interested in speaking with you. I mean, we have on Tuesdays and Thursdays Discord and the Discord server and Fronte Cafe, we have these sessions of conversation, interacting, not only listening. You know what I mean? But the thing is not being able to get words. That's gonna work excellent, but you're never, never, never gonna be able to talk, my friend. And yeah, I know the people who know me, they know I'm very, very repetitive. But if you want to get better in something in life, I mean, jobs or whatever, I mean, just getting better in human interaction, I mean, is speak to people. You need to do more of something, more that something that could be speaking to an AI tutor. When you speak to a real tutor, a real person, and also with people with all around the world, real people, I mean, normal, regular, everyday people, foreign speakers, native speakers, whatever makes you feel comfortable. That is a great point that you need to know. And that's what separates the whole thing, in my humble opinion. Again, I'm not humble, okay? Yes, yes. Nah, come on. I'm not humble. Okay, so to summarize this, having this AI thing tutor is gonna offer a lot of progress. Okay, it's gonna help you with your accuracy, the words. Sometimes we need to be consistent about building our habits, and also need to be very, very much in taking making track or consistent, and or how often you do the practice, how you practice, how you implement the feedback. Just speaking is not enough, okay? So I think I got a point, no? There is that aspect, which is fun because you can do on the go at times where you can't really speak with a real person. You can do some things with an AI, but uh, they say some. I heard somewhere that someone said that AI is made to give you answers, not to make questions about that. Maybe when you're waiting in line, when you're stuck in traffic, when you're in this bathroom, or when you do the dishes, when you walk your dog, right? This is why it's extremely valuable. But do not neglect the part of speaking with real human beings, whether these are teachers or not. This is the human touch what we need, right? This is why all the apps, like all the Duolingos and all the like everything that it's just it's an app. It's good to a certain degree, to some extent, but it will not get you to where you want to be, which is to completely feel like yourself, like English as a second language to you, and speaking like something natural and getting confidence in your voice and your body. It's not going to help you feel authentic and free uh, because you need the real life interaction with other people. Now, you're probably saying to yourself, okay, it's impossible for me to find people to practice with, or it's really hard to find partners without paying them, or teachers, and maybe you can afford it, which is, yeah, understandable. In case you don't know, I wanted to tell you that I have a great community in Discord, and I'm gonna give you the links in the description of this video. And we have weekly conversation sessions, and we need to talk with real people about fun stuff, and not any kind of topics. And this is good to practice your voice. Is you're not gonna learn words, and only if you are a technician, or you're doing these professional things, you will learn a lot of proficiency things and technical words. But on the other hand, you never had a conversation with someone in an informal situation, because maybe you thought that you knew that, and you know what? No, you didn't. Or you forgot because you did not practice. And what happens when you don't practice? You get rusty. Yeah, bingo. You know, okay. What I mean? I mean, the conversation group, you can actually join for free, like I said, in practice with real people from all around the world. Train yourself to understand different accents, so the people, especially foreign accents, and you will train yourself to stay focused when listening to others, and you will train yourself and build confidence speaking to other people without worrying about what they think about you, huh? Or about making mistakes, or any type of limiting that you might think that I'm doing this wrong or right, because it's your English. It is a safe space to do that. So I strongly recommend you to join our community. And when you do that, you actually create the best circumstances for yourself to speak confidently with real people, because we don't need confidence to speak with our AI tutor. We don't need confidence. Why? We know that it's not going to judge us. We know that it's not going to make a face of, no, I didn't get it, or, sorry. No, it's kind of like comfortable in some way and convenient, but it's part of the social factor of which is language, right? And remember, it's absolutely free. It's a lot of fun. Join us. And okay. And anyway, tell your robot, your tutor, that I say hi, and I hope this is helpful. And I'm really curious about what you think about this. And if you have practiced with an AI tutor, and what was the outcome? How was it for you? Let me know in the comments. Okay. And now, before we go, let's check this out. I was looking for some facts and statistics from Billboard magazine for my podcast, American Top 40, and I said, please make a deep search about the charts of each single of I don't know who, and put in your cache memory. So every time I make the inquiry, you will have the information easier to get. And he said, yeah, I can do both things. And I set your preference in my memory, about these chart rounds, Hot 100, Billboard, 1970, 2005. But I'm gonna be honest about what you asked. I can make a deep search in another plane, on the background, and save all the data in my in my memory. Doesn't work like this. I cannot run, searches and keep the results in cache to give them you afterwards without giving you the data in the real time. My memory is thought for preferences and short notes, not for storing data sets like I know the last chart runs of the last 35 years. Are you crazy? This is a robot responding to me, okay? If you want me to make a work like a full I know search, compile, delivering you the results, I can make it right away. But I do this. I do the deep search. I do but I give you this brief, summarized information, and you want this data set for the next session. So it's telling me, I cannot do that because I don't have that kind of, possibility to do that. I'm not a database. I just look for information. I give you short responses. This is in order to look for information. That's how it works. And I say, okay, tell me what. Well, ChatGPT is very polite, and I think, I think your response was very sincere, especially coming from a robot, because you're a robot, no? And that comes to show that an AI doesn't replace a human being, huh? Huh? He says, yeah, good observation. In a few words, the AI complements and amplifies what a human does, but doesn't replace it. I am very good to process data, big scales, pay patterns, generate draft, accelerate the repetitive tasks. For example, these guys, you work doing repetitive tasks. Be aware of AI because you, yes, will be replaced for sure. Uh, we are applied to what you do. I can, get all the positions in order and getting you a table, but you decide what to tell in the script, what to say in the anecdotes, and what emphasis give to the words. This is what it makes the final product, your voice. And if you want me, I can do that. Okay, blah 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 blah. And I say, I think it's an excellent feedback, my robot friend. Now get ready because I'm going to send you a new list from the 1840 Classic with all the text for the cue sheet. So get your gears because here we go. And the robot says, okay, I'm ready. And, adjusting my gears, my human friend. Okay. And that was a great answer. And this is it for this beautiful talk for my private students and all the people out there about what do I think about learning English with the chatbots and so on. Any question, any doubt? I'm gonna give you a little task. Give me, or if you're a student of mine, give me an audio. Send me by WhatsApp, or yes, if you're my student, you got my WhatsApp. Send me an audio about telling me what did you think about this talk and what are your final thoughts. If you want, you can make annotations and give me a brief opinion in your own words, in a WhatsApp audio about everything we talked. If you agree, disagree, or partially agree, to what extent do you agree, disagree? Am I right? Am I wrong? Huh? Am I trying to sell my lessons? Of course, I always do. I run a business. But do I have a point? Am I wrong? Am I stupid? No, please don't say that. No? Okay, see you in the next lesson. Bye bye.